We're going to start with some of the basics of how you need to be set up, some things you can tweak that are going to make you even better. And of course, you can always type questions in the chat, or you can come off mute and ask a question if you have your voice settings set up to push to talk. So starting out as a rally lead, um, there's some there's definitely some misconceptions that a lot of players have that the strongest rally is going to be the general rally officers always, and that's not necessarily the case. And just because you have those officers maxed or what you think are maxed, that doesn't make you a strong rally lead. Whenever I'm looking at a rally lead, one thing that's going to be extremely important, and I'll go over to archive so you can see, is your confidentiality level. Now, oh, I thought that was going to switch over. 28 is going to be the minimum that you want to have as a rally lead, because that's going to be the biggest benefit for T5. Once once you get to a level where you're putting T6 in rallies, which is really going to be at the very top tier, 29 and then 30 is going to give you your T6 boost, but it still gives you some T5 boosts as well. Just note that if your server is completely T5, you're going to get much less of the benefit at 29 and 30 than what you saw at 28. For the weapons, so let me go over here to Weapons Factory. You'll see that I have the rally weapons, the newest ones, maxed right now. These are not the strongest rally weapons in the game currently. The strongest ones are those new, let's find the name of it. I think I saved one down here. The Delisle Carbine. So these are going to be stronger than the current rally weapons as far as raw power, but you're going to lose capacity with it. Now, the raw power makes up for the capacity hugely right now, but when the next rally weapons come out, they will be stronger than the Delisle. While the Delisle is stronger, I don't necessarily need to change from the current rally weapons because we only have one rally lead and everybody is always fighting to get in the rally. So if I decrease my capacity to get stronger, it's going to hurt the rest of my players trying to gain points. So that's just something to think about if you're running rallies. I also, as a rally lead, my rallies, I never put a full march in. So if I'm going to rally a target, so here's a behemoth, we'll pretend it's an enemy base. One of the first things I do as a rally lead, let's set up our rally officers. I want to check the unit types. So you see those check mark boxes that I'm checking and unchecking. I never want artillery in my rally unless we're rallying an empty base to rob resources. Then I might allow artillery in. So I want to take the artillery off. I also want to get rid of these T1, T2, and T3s that are trying to join. In the top tiers, you're probably going to get rid of T4 as well. So that just depends on the makeup of the of what your server is, of what you're going to allow and who you're fighting. Now, I could put a full march of T6 in there, and if I'm the rally lead on the server and I continuously do this over the bio, I'm going to take more losses than anybody else in my zone because I'm in every rally with a full march. So I want to take those out, and I'm just going to put maybe 10,000 in my rally. So I put 10,000 tanks, and then I'm just going to hit save. So whenever I'm starting a rally, I'm only putting in 10,000 of my own units. This seems like it might be selfish, but it's quite the opposite. This is me relying on my team to subsidize some troop losses that I'm normally bearing the brunt of myself. Um, if we attack a strong target and we do this repeatedly, we're always hitting like these towers that have max garrisons, and I'm always putting a bulk of troops in that rally. I can never pull those troops out and refresh. Mine have to stay in the entire time. And this ends up, if you're rallied, you're putting in full marches into those rallies over the course of a 30-day war to millions and millions of lost units that you're taking that a lot of other players aren't. And this is going to be a problem because you're, as the rally lead, you can't run. You have to be on the field. So you either have to run an empty base when you're rallying, which means that the enemy could teleport your base away if they used MP-34s, or you're going to have to be strong enough to take a, a rally yourself while you're rallying, or take a rally in a swarm. Now, at lower tiers, you may not have to worry about that as much, but we're in towards the top of tier 4, and we're going to continue to rise up in those ranks, and it's going to be a real problem as a rally lead that I need as many troops on my base so that they can't get rid of the rally lead or smoke me while we're trying to run a rally. All right. Um, Now, your rally officers, if they're just the generic ones, their strength is going to go way up when you have multiple types of units in the rally. So, should I try to make my makeup 1/3 of everything? No, but I do need some units of other types. Now, I run a single unit type of base, um, but you'll see over here that I always have some kind of other units cooking. When I get ready to run my rally, I just simply come over here and I hit cancel. And by canceling that, whatever has been made so far will go onto my base. So if I go to my troop count, you'll actually see those troops, the infantry and the tank destroyers on my base. Now, these are T2s. I just make T2s outside of bio, but during bio, I'll probably make those T4s or T5s. I'm going to cancel those right when I'm going to start my rallies. Once I'm finished running rallies as a single unit type of base, I just simply go in and I delete the units out so that it doesn't affect my garrison. Um, when you're setting up your initial rally march, let me go here. When you're setting up that initial rally march, it's a good idea to go ahead and put some of the other types of units that you're going to be using. So it might be like 100 or 1,000 of um, the other types in your rally when you're setting it. So how do you know what you want in your rally? This is really important to find out. So let me attack. All right, so I just hit an invader, so now we can go up and pull up the invader points. This is going to be really important for you to decide what type of makeup you want in your rally. And when I go to my troop boosts, I want to scroll down until I get to appearance. Now, appearance is going to be your skins. And you'll notice that when you're looking to my appearance, that my best appearance skins are going to be for tanks. Now, artillery, you're going to have garbage, because there's nothing that's geared directly towards artillery. Only um, all unit type boosts are going to apply to artillery. But I can see that I get better boosts with my tanks than I do with anything else. So the primary makeup of the rally, I want it to be tank. That's going to make my rally far stronger than if I was running 1/3 of each type of unit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I would be shooting for um, maybe 100,000 infantry and 100,000 tank destroyers max in my rally. The rest I want all tank, so that as the battle is going on, I never want so many of the infantry or tank destroyers in my rally, so few that during the rally they all die and then I lose my boost. So ideally, three types of units in the rally when it's general officers, and I want to primarily fill that with tanks. One thing that we do on our server is we tell everybody, hey, we want you to mainly focus on producing tanks. Even if you have other types of units and officers that you run, for what you're going to be filling in our rallies, I want it to be mainly tanks that you send. This makes the makeup of the stats on the rally much stronger when I'm running the rally because of what skins I have. For you, it may be different. Um, I have a rally dog. Is it necessary that you have a rally dog? No, it's not necessary to have a rally dog, um, but it's definitely a lot better when you have the rally dog. If you want to, if your goal is to eventually become a rally lead and you want to do that cheaply, the easiest way to do that is to get the monthly stake pack for the premium stakes. Get the monthly stake pack and save it for a year. And if you do that, the next time the rally dog comes out, if you take all those stake and you put it on that rally dog, it should be at level 60. And that's all you need. You don't need it to be any higher than that. Um, 81 is 80, about 81 is halfway on dogs. So I don't really want to, if you look at the minimal benefit from 80 to 100, it's really not worth the amount of money that you would spend. Let the really big spenders, waste their money on that. What's going to be making you far stronger is having a team that can keep that rally full. They can keep field control. Having a couple of hundred extra thousand units in that rally isn't going to make a big deal if you can't keep the rally full. That's all pointless. It's just a huge waste. Now, I'm never going to launch a rally that's not completely full. And a lot of times when I'm getting into battle and we're going to start rallying a base, when I start that rally, if I just do the 5-minute rally, it's not going to be full because everybody's trying to get online. I'm having to sound the horn on Discord. I'm like, hey, everybody, we're going to be rallying this base. I would rather start a 10-minute rally on the first rally that I'm running to give everybody time to get there. If you're worried that the enemy is going to get away in that 5 minutes, uh, if that's a possibility, chances are it's a bad idea to run a rally on that anyways. If your rally gets past maybe a third of the way down, so if it's taken a third damage, you should probably cancel your rally. Like no matter what. I mean, unless the enemy is almost dead, whatever you're rallying, you should probably cancel that rally once it takes a third damage. Because either one or two things. Either you don't have the ability to keep that rally full, um, or that what you're rallying is going to be too strong for you to defeat. So how do I know if I'm big enough to take a target? Um, you could do the math on it. So you could just basically run a standard rally, have everybody fill it. Once you've done that, so let me see if I got one saved. Here we go. And it doesn't really matter that, this was a very easy rally to win, but I would take my total count on units and I'm going to take my boosts for all the units that are in it, what units are in it, so I can see my units here. So I'm going to grab all those units I'm going to grab the troop base buffs for those. I'm going to grab the troop boost for those. And I'm going to multiply those together. Now, that's going to be a really big number. So, one thing that you can do that would help for my troop boosts, if its tank attack is 1203%, I'm going to move the decimal 1, 2, 3 places to the left. I'm going to do that for all of my stats. So I'm going to do that for tank attack, defense, health. I'm going to do that for my troop base buff as well. I'm going to do that for the unit details. All those units, I'm going to move the decimal point over. Once you have that base amount set where you can actually say, okay, this is my attack, defense, and health, damage dealt and damage received is something you're going to want to take into account as well. You can simply bomb the enemy base or attack it with a single unit, and that's going to give you all the stats on what you're attacking. And you do the same thing for it. If your number is lower, if your numbers across the board are much lower than theirs, chances are you're not going to take it with a rally. Now, you don't have to do that, but that is a surefire way that you can check to see if both rallies and garrisons are being full, if you're going to be able to take it. Any questions about that or anything we've talked about so far? Okay, let's talk about attacking towers. When I attack a tower, and we'll just use something over here as an example. When I attack that tower, I can only start a rally on a tower that is not on fire. If that tower is on fire, I cannot rally it or attack it. If, however, I start my rally on that tower, and while the rally is waiting to launch, that tower is set on fire, it will not cancel the rally. I'll get back to the troop boost in just a minute. So I start the rally, and let me see if it'll let me do this. I don't want Eddie to blow a gasket. Is there anything I could pretend to set on fire that he wouldn't kill me for? Oh, here. Okay. And is there a gap I can go to? This is important. Ah! Oh, I fit. Okay, cool. All right, so I've got my base over here. I'm going to rally this tower. It says I'm going to go into Warmonger. Yes. Include different unit types. And we are going to save that and start the rally. So the rally has been started. So we can see it here. I've got 3 minutes and 50 something seconds until this rally launches. What happens if I bomb that tower? Because there's no one in it right now. Let's say they emptied it. All right, I set the tower on fire. That should cancel the rally, right? Wrong. The rally is still preparing to launch. So that means that even if that tower is still on fire, when the rally launches, it will attack the tower. This is really important to understand. We've all been in biozones where that one slimy guy will fill up a tower with all his own units with a half cocked garrison so that you have to rally the tower, and then right before the rally hits, they put the fire out. No. Urgh. Okay, that's fine. If I am needing to get rid of that guy, here's something sneaky I do. I'm going to put my base really close to that tower. Now, I can't get over there right now, but we're going to pretend my base is really close. I'm going to start my rally. And when I start that rally, I'm going to be looking at this screen. For me, it shows preparing 3 minutes and 52 seconds. What I want to do is I want to join my rally with a very slow march. I'm going to swap to a farm account, and I'm going to join my rally with a really, really slow march from super far away. Now I can see it's got 3 minutes left before it goes, and it's going to say, do I want to join? Boy, the garrison officer? Absolutely. Sure, whatever. All right, so I've sent this march, and what you'll see is even though it's preparing 2 minutes and 50 seconds, I've got 5 minutes before this march is going to reach there. I'm going to swap back to my main account. This is called holding a rally. Like I'm actually holding it back. I don't want it to launch. I want it to have the wait time. This is what you use when those guys fill the tower up, and then they try to empty it when the rally's about to launch. Okay, because what they do is they always fill it right back up as soon as it gets on fire. So here we have on my screen it says preparing 2 minutes, right? On the enemy screen, it's going to say the exact same thing. The enemy cannot see the wait time. It doesn't know that it's gonna be waiting once this timer ends. When it does tell it it's waiting, it doesn't give it a time of how long. It just says waiting. For me, it says how long. For the enemy, they don't see that. It'll just say waiting on their screen. But the enemy isn't going to have this screen pulled up when they're removing the units from the tower, when they're recalling. They're not going to be looking at this screen. They're looking at the actual tower because they are having to pull all their units out. So as it gets really close, what we're going to do, right as the prepare gets down to like 10 seconds left, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a march, a full march to attack the tower. All right. Now there is the red blinking on the enemy's screen. They look, they see my name, they see that a march is heading for the tower. They think it's the rally. What do? They recall all their units at this point. Once they've recalled all their units, here comes my march. It's hitting the tower. The closer your base is, the easier it is to pull this off. You don't want it to sit there. You want it to return right after. Now they're filling this tower back up with all their units that they just pulled out, waiting to put the tower fire out. They don't realize that my rally is held. Now, typically, this would already be held. It would say waiting for me because I'm not going to send my march until right now. That's when I'd send my march. So now this rally is being held. As soon as I see that guy put all of his units back in that tower that's on fire, I want to kick this march out. Boom, auto launches my rally. Look, I just auto launched the rally when I was ready to launch it. It's on its way. This guy has a tower on fire with all his troops in it. You see why I want my base super close for this. I'm now going to engage that tower even though it's on fire. If there were units in this tower, it would begin a battle between the rally and the tower, even though it's on fire. You can really hurt some people this way. Does this make sense to everybody? So when these, I hope this isn't being recorded, when these cotton-headed ninny muggins, forgive my language, when these guys are trying to slow you down, burning through their towers, and they put this, guy out here who's filling up this tower and forcing you to rally, and it is costing you all this time. And every time you rally, it pulls his troops, and he's trolling you basically. When you use this trick and you catch him, it's going to hurt him bad. Speaking of held rallies, um, another reason you would want to hold a rally is when you're trying to do multiple rallies on a single target. So I want to control exactly when the rallies are going to launch. And I can do this by, let's just say, we'll use our marker system. Oh, no. Why would you do that? Obviously. Oh, okay. I see it now. Let me get my whiteboard up. Which one is it? Draw on screen. What is it doing? There we go. All right. All right, we're going to have to use our imagination a little bit with this. This is my safe zone in a bio. And this is my rally holder. This is the guy that I use to hold my rally. So I put him way far away, so I got plenty of time. I'm going to join that rally with a single unit. All right, and then we have, it goes like this. Okay, so this is my map. I got my gates, and I'm going to change the color to make it a little bit easier for us. We'll use blue. I have one rally that is starting right here. I'll change the color again. And I have another rally that I can set. I'm going to put it in my safe zone. Two different guilds. So I've got my war guild is blue. My supporting guild is yellow. My target is going to be purple. My target is here. I want to run two rallies on this target. We're going to say it's a base for right now. It's a strong base, so I want two rallies. I'm going to start the rally in my war guild, not in my support guild. So I start the rally in the war guild. And let me use blue again. Okay. The rally is going to launch, and from this red dot back here, This is my unit that is going to be holding my rally. So I want it to be super slow. I never want it to reach the base. So I want it to be as slow as possible to increase the wait time. It's great to use like a T5 tank destroyer on like the worst officers you have, whatever the most undeveloped officer is. It'll greatly increase the wait time. Once I have that rally started, I'm now going to start another rally out of my support guild. Okay, so here's my support guild rally base. I've got it behind the safe zone because that's a weaker guild. I'm going to fill that rally with all of the trash from our farms. When that rally is ready to launch, it's going to travel like this. So at some point, that rally is going to pass my main account rally base. Now, because it is in a supporting guild, that rally is going to be traveling very, very slowly. When that rally passes the base and it gets maybe about right here, maybe that's what I've determined is going to be when I should launch the rally from my main account, from my main war guild. I want those rallies to hit almost at exactly the same time, but I definitely want the supporting rally to hit first. Yes, it is going to get trashed against a strong base because it's the first one to hit, so it's taking the brunt of the damage. But I've filled it up with all of the T4 from our farms, so I don't really care. I don't care how many of those units get lost because they're made to die. They're not useful, for our main account. So we're going to subsidize most of our troop losses by using the support account rally. And that is going to be our weaker rally that we use for that. Our main rally, we're going to be filling with our main accounts, and we want that to hit after the first rally hits. It's just like with marches. One-on-one, the strength of whatever the strongest march is wins. However, once multiple accounts enter the battle, generally whoever has the most attackers on a target is going to win. You can do the same thing using rallies. I can subsidize most of the troop losses on a very strong target using a support account rally, and then have my main account rally hit after that, which is far stronger, and it's not taking the brunt of the damage from the base. We have easily zeroed accounts that are whales that have over 15 million troops on base, with a lot of them being T6 using this method. It's important to kind of practice, which you can do using behemoths on the Europe map, of trying to time rallies hitting and passing each other and kind of get that down before you ever go into bio. And I highly recommend that. If you're going to be a rally lead, you need to get good at this. If you're a rally lead, guess what? You're going to be the guy who's using the farm account to join your own rally to hold it. You're not going to be able to rely on anyone else on your team doing that. Any questions about that? All right. What else can we do to make ourselves strong as a rally lead? Well, if you're a rally lead, hold on. Let's turn that off for a second. There we go. If you're a rally lead, you need to help make your march, your rally stronger. You're going to want a Car 98. So aside from my rally, I'm also going to set up wherever it is, somewhere in here. There it is. I have a car 98 sitting there. I save it for when I'm running my rally. Now, if you're a field fighter, this is also a good time to use that car 98. After the rally hits, I want to send the strongest march possible to hit right after my rally hits with a car 98 if it's on a base. What's going on here? So here I'm going to grab Red Queen. I'm using a March expansion, full T6, 461,000. I've got a maxed warship and dog. Yes, this is great that once the rally is hitting, I'm going to hit that base with this car 98 March as well. When I do that, it's going to help to offset the amount of damage my rally is taking, and at the same time increase the amount of damage the enemy is taking. But I'm only going to take losses from the turrets. Now, if you're going to rally a base that has very strong planes, this doesn't work great if they bomb your march. But if you have enough people on your team swarming with these car 98 marches, it's mainly going to be losses for the enemy. And yeah, you're going to have a lot of repairs in your garage, but it's easier to take down a very large base this way. I don't know. A lot of people probably don't run those car 98s. They're probably the most broken thing in the game. Um, the ability to, if you wanted to, zero a base with a march and not take the massive losses, even on smaller bases, you're only taking the losses from their turret, which is like 4, 5, 600 total. And if you overfill their garage, I mean, they're going to be in a world of hurt. So if you haven't looked into the car 98 as a rally lead, this is extremely important for you to have developed sitting there to help your own rally when you're going after an enemy base. It does make a big difference. And if you can get your team to also have car 98s, and they don't have to be well developed, they can just be like a 1-star car 98, even level 0. All you're doing is you're subsidizing troop losses that you would be normally taking when attacking a base for repairs in your garage. Yeah, obviously, that's a great trade off. And you don't have to build up that gun for that. So, very easy, cheap, free way to use teamwork to save y'all's troops in a bio. Also, great for zeroing out bases that go dormant on your server. Instead of having to go zero it, you can just run over with a car 98 March and do it really quickly without taking, you know, even if it's 5,000 losses, 10,000 losses, that adds up. Okay, somebody asked if I could repeat the troop boost to look at for rally. All right. So for your rally, you want to look at attack, defense, and health, and then all of these damage stats. These are going to be very important as well. So you're going to want to take those into account. If the enemy takes way less damage than you and deals way more damage than you, it's best to stay away from rallying that base, because the other stats aren't going to matter if you're not comparable on the damage dealt and damage received.
Hey, Greg, can you repeat the decimal places to the right that you go, the number?
Yeah, sure. So this is just to make the number more manageable. If you take 1,200% and then you multiply it by 280 or 260 or whatever, and then you multiply that by the amount of units, the number is astronomical. You won't be able to see it on most calculators. To get around that, all you do is you move your decimal place to the left, right? So I'm just moving the decimal place over 3 to the left, and then I just do the same thing for this. And I do the same thing for this. I just move the decimal places over, and that makes the number way more manageable if I do that across the board. So is the number going to be accurate? It's as accurate as anything else. I just want to know which is going to be the bigger number. So that the decimal point just makes it where you can actually put that into a calculator to get a final number. If not, you're going to be in like the billions and billions of point numbers, and it's a lot harder to manage looking at what is stronger. 100% of something is one, right? So anything that is 100% is really just one. 100% of 10 is 10 times 1, right? 90% of 10, you would multiply 10 times 0.9, and that would give you 9. 9 is 90% of 10. So all we're doing is moving decimal points.
On each side, correct?
Yeah, it's just easier if you just go ahead and, if I'm moving the decimal point on one number to the left, I'm going to do it on all numbers to the left at the same amount. That will give you the most accurate representation. You have to move, if you move the decimal point on the troop boost 2 spaces to the left, to get the most accurate measurement, you need to do the same thing on all of the numbers. If not, your totals are going to be a bit skewed, which I found out the hard way. So don't do what I did. All right. Um, some other things to note about being a rally lead. If you have the gold, um, it's always a good idea, if you can afford it in the auction. If you save up your gold, let's do results, to go ahead and bid on the rally advanced talents for tier 2 and max those on your rally officer, because you only have one officer you're going to need to max these on, right? And that's the last season's. And the stats on it are going to be far superior. I'll actually show you what that looks like. If I go in here and I go to talent store. All right. Let me look for 2 that are the same, which I have. Okay. So this one, Onslaught 1. At level 7, this is just a typical advanced talent for an officer, a rally officer. Stat damage goes up 20%, and during rallies, there's a 20% chance for the target to take 3.2% increased damage for 3 seconds. All right, that's the max that tier 1 goes on Onslaught. So you see Onslaught Onslaught 1. However, Onslaught 2, where is it? At the bottom. Stat damage goes up plus 25%. So I'm going to gain 5% more stat damage. During rallies, there's a 20% chance for target to take 6.2% increased damage for 3 seconds. So the damage goes up 6.2% instead of 3.2%. So I'm getting an extra 3% total damage for 3 seconds. So this is for the rally lead, who's going to be what everybody's joining to do as much damage as possible. Putting in to make that as strong as possible is a great idea. If your server doesn't have a rally lead, then your focus as a server should be making one. And I don't know what that looks like for you, but it could be um, somebody volunteering to be the rally lead who is closer to the capabilities of doing it with a higher confidentiality. And everybody says, okay, we're going to let them win a few of the events on the zone so that they can get more badges to put towards the rally officer to help offset the cost of that. Um, it could be everybody's going to throw in, you know, $5 a month, in KoW coins and send it to the rally lead so that they can use it just on the rally, just to make it stronger. Like that rally lead is no different than your strongest garrison lead on the server, except the rally doesn't help the individual player. A garrison does, but being a rally lead is very selfless. And it is a big cost. So that might be something that everybody says, okay, well, we'll all throw in $5 in KoW coins to that player to help build that rally as strong as it can on our server. Um, Especially if you're on a T5 server where you may not have the biggest spenders and people who can do that. This is something that everybody could, join in to help. And with the KoW coins, you can send it directly to a player if you have that player's ID. There's no way for someone to um, like rob them. It can just be, a gift. Basically, you can gift coins. Um, as the rally lead, you really want the governor to be the rally lead, vice versa, when the rally is happening. So, as a governor, you can use deportation. Um, it's really important that the rally lead can use deportation whenever they need to. So, let me draw what that looks like. Since I can't show it to you right now, we're just going to draw it on the screen. This is kind of important for y'all to know, anyways. All right, so I'm looking at the screen and let me, oh, we're going to clear all that out. And let me choose a paint. As a governor, if I pull up deportation, which is 15,000 gold, it puts a square on the screen like this. All right, so I've got my screen. I can move that. I've got my square up because I'm going to use deportation. And any base that is touching the edges of that square, it's going to put a little box around each one and say, okay, this one's touching. It's going to show you all the bases it will deport. And if it's your own allied bases, it will deport those as well. So all these bases, it's like I'm going to deport all these if you use deportation. And then as soon as you click it, it random teleports all those bases away. Now, when you're a rally lead, you don't want to deport all those bases. You just want to deport the garrison lead. Okay? If all of these bases get deported, then when you rally and you hit the target, you're going to beat the target immediately because there's no one in the tower or the gate, right? I don't want to do that. Let's say that, um, let's say that this guy, that's their rally lead. I mean, their garrison lead. And I'm going to be rallying this tower. And they've got it maxed. They've got it full. People are ready to join. And that's their garrison lead. I'm going to bomb that tower or hit it with a single unit so that my battle report says who the lead is for that garrison. And if that lead is strong, I am going to deport like that, so that as many people are still in that tower as possible. And I just want to remove the garrison lead, because if that garrison lead goes, it's going to default to a different march as the garrison lead. And that's usually going to be the second march that entered the tower. So now I've got a full garrison in there with a crap garrison officer. So when we hit that, they're going to take millions of lost units before they can swap the garrison lead to a stronger garrison. Does that make sense? Basically, if you're going to use 15,000 gold on a deportation, make sure you're going to get your money's worth. I don't want to just take the target or defeat it. I want them to take heavy losses when we do it. All right. Let's say I'm going to attack a base. All right. And I'm going to attack. We're going to say that our target is Ripper. Y'all are about to see how good I am at drawing. Watch this. I have locked Ripper's base down. Ripper's super strong. And now that I've locked his base down, I'm going to set my rally on him. All right, hold on. I need to choose a different color. So I've got my rally set on his base. You'll notice that I have moved my base super close to his base. That way, if I need to use debuffs on his base, I can quickly do that as the rally lead. That's right. Don't wait on your team to do it, because your team's not going to do it. Just like they're not going to hold your rally. You are going to have to debuff the enemy. So get your base right on top of them. All right. So we're going to be rallying him, and all his teammates have shielded their bases and moved it next to him. Look at all these shielded base friends they've got. And he's hiding all his troops in these shielded bases. And of course, where is he going to put those troops? He's going to put them in the bases closest to his base, which is a bad idea, but that's what he's going to do. And we're not going to judge Reaper for that. So let's use the green. So he hides a march in there and there and there. And he's effectively basically emptied his base, maybe. Or now he's got so few units on base that when his teammates reinforce his base, so just like he emptied, they also reinforced. Well, it's not looking so good for me as a rally lead. That's why I want deportation. He has set himself up in what he thinks is a winning position. But as soon as the rally is about to launch, I am going to deport all the bases around him. Since his base is locked, his base won't move. This will remove all the reinforcements from his base, and at the same time, return all of his troops to his base. The rally has hit, so he cannot teleport away. Now, if he's not in Warmonger, I'm definitely not going to do this, because I don't want him to be able to shield. But guys that don't run like too high of a troop count, maybe around 2 to 3, 4 million troops, that does like try to do the emptying the base whenever they're going to take a rally with a good garrison, this would be a way to get around that. Now, of course, his teammates can teleport back in to help. So what I would want to do on top of this is I want to use, hopefully, I'm not going to do it on their territory. I'm going to use a temporary fort drop. And my temporary fort drop, where am I going to drop it? Of course, right here, so the enemy can't teleport directly at his base. It's also a great idea if you've got room to drop some towers around it. Make it even harder for the enemy to teleport in, or impossible. Look at that. Look at all that area you could cover. This is a better way to zero players. Usually opportunities like this are going to happen the first day the gates open. People are a bit rusty. They play a little bit too loose, especially bigger players. This causes them to step just a little bit too far outside of their capabilities. And if you can catch them pushing aggressively into your zone buff, this is a great time to do this, especially with their biggest player. Go ahead and set the tone that you're going to go ahead and zero that player on day one. Um, so, all right, any questions about that? I must be an amazing teacher.
All good.
All right, we had a question about debuffs. Let me show you what I use for a debuff. So different. There are different officers, weapons, things that can debuff the enemy. Um, let's talk about how that works. So these are extra things I'm hitting with that cause bad things to happen to the enemy, aside from my rally hitting. And when I go to dogs, generally the garrison dog is going to have this same ability. At level 60, it says when attacking a uh, when attacking a non-base target in a rally, which for the enemy it's going to say a garrison, negative effects from other troops, excluding the target, do not apply. That's only active while rallying, and it's only 50% effective when you're rallying a base. Well, for the base garrison, and oh, let me see if I can find it, because I don't have that dog. Who would have that dog that I could look at? No. There we go. So here's a German Shepherd, the old garrison dog. At level 60, that's when it gets that negative effects from other enemy troops, excluding the target, do not apply. So in other words, it can't be debuffed. It can only be debuffed from the rally, but from other things hitting it at level 60, you can't debuff. I want you to think about how effective this must be. It's so effective at when you debuff an enemy that they had to add something to the game to keep the debuffs from being effective for the other whales. Does that make sense? That's how effective debuffing is, that they made something in the game to counter it. This should be red flags like that. Oh man, this must be extremely powerful. They don't even have anything that really counters planes. That's how effective debuffing is. Um, for the debuff, what I do is I'll usually set up a march. And with that march, I'm usually going to start with Catherine. And I don't need the warship. I don't need a dog for this march. Um, and for the units on this march, I'm going to use T1, and I'm going to have one single unit. And I'm going to save that. Now, Catherine has a special ability for debuffing that is consistent and powerful. That's very important to remember about Catherine. Consistent. Along with Catherine, I'm going to use an officer that has a shotgun, the M1887. This is a great debuff weapon. It is consistent and powerful. Now, could I put the shotgun on Catherine? Sure, that's fine. I just don't have it set up that way, so I just used Abigail instead. But it's just fine if you want to put one of these shotguns on Catherine. I probably got another shotgun down here. Yeah. So I could equip that shotgun to Catherine as well, instead of the Delisle. Now, if I stack the shotgun, does it double the effect? No. No, you can only use one shotgun in a march. All right, so how does the debuff work? Well, if we start with the shotgun, what the shotgun does at 5 stars is during normal attacks, which attacking with that single unit will be considered a normal attack, it decreases the target's healing effects by 20%. And it increases their damage received by 15% for 3 seconds. That's all damage goes up by 15% for 3 seconds. Effects cannot be stacked.
So you can't send multiple debuff marches in?
It means that within that 3 seconds that it's working, that's the maximum it can go. It can only go for 15%. It can't go for, like, if you send like 2 marches and hit, it won't go to 30%. It'll cap at 15%. And decreasing the healing isn't really that big of a deal. But increasing the amount of damage taken by 15% for 3 seconds is huge. In the words of Donald Trump, it's huge. All right. That's one of the debuffs we use. So you'll see that all the time. Also, Catherine herself, which maybe it'll let me pull it from here. It won't. Okay. Catherine has a special, consistent, and powerful debuff. And that is going to be weak point attack. At at skill level 5, it's a passive skill, which means it's always active. Normal attacks increase damage the target receives by 30% for 3 seconds. This can only be triggered once every 5 seconds. So she can do 30% for 3 seconds. It cannot stack with other Catherines. But with a shotgun, it also goes up 15% for 3 seconds. So 45% more damage taken by the target when this officer attacks, even with a single unit. So that's a really great, consistent debuff. There's other debuffs out there that different officers have. They're nowhere near as powerful as this debuff combo. And they're nowhere near as consistent. This is a very consistent debuff combo. It's also really important that if you see the enemy sending those single type units, that you're killing them as fast as possible, because it will greatly hurt your rally or garrison that it's hitting. Unless you have the dog at level 60, which at that point, all this extra debuff stuff doesn't matter.
Gray Nagan had a question in chat.
Yep, I'm about to go over that. All right, so the question was for other rallies. All right, what month is it? It's October, right? When do the new generals come out? Is that October or November? I think it's October.
I believe so, yes.
All right, so in October of every year, new general officers come out, and that makes your strongest rally lead going to be the new general rally, which for us right now it's Emily, but it's about to change to a different one. And then Emily will then become the secondary, uh, the junior rally officer, and you'll need to do the advanced talents on her. 3 months later, some new infantry officers are going to come out, and so we'll talk about history here, which would be, that was Samantha and I can't say the other one, Sao Urs, right? Those infantry officers are now the strongest rally officers, but only when it's all infantry. So that's the disadvantage there. It has to be an all infantry rally, and you have to keep filling it with infantry. So you won't see a lot of those at that point in the game, but that will technically be stronger than a maxed rally. After that, 3 months later, tank officers are going to come out, just like Silverhand, Red Queen. Those are now the strongest rally officers, if the rally is all tank. 3 months after that, tank destroyer officers are going to come out, and that will be the strongest rally, is a tank destroyer rally with the new tank destroyer officers. However, where a lot of people fail at this is making sure that those officers have the correct weapons. For example, if I'm running an infantry only rally with the newest infantry officers, I don't want to use infantry weapons. I want to use rally weapons to max the capacity of the rally. Unless the new field weapons are stronger than the current rally weapons, and then I would want to use those. So it just depends. Like right now, the Delisle, the tank destroyer weapon, is the strongest rally weapon. It's stronger than the Shakot, or however you pronounce it. I'm American. I don't know how to say anything in another language. But that's only because our schools are bad. Um, so if I'm running a tank destroyer rally right now, that's going to be the strongest rally I can run. But instead of using the Chow Chat, oh, that's a good one. I'll call it that. I'm going to use the Delisle, two max Delisles. That is going to be so much stronger than the current rally officers that it's ridiculous. Is that the same for Garrison? Why, yes, it is. Obviously, the strongest rally being tank destroyer, that'll also be the strongest Garrison, but only if it's all tank destroyer. Uh, should I change the talents over? Like if I'm using tank destroyer talent, should I change it to siege? No, I wouldn't do that. That would not be necessary at all. You could, and that's where you get into mid maxing, which we are not going to go over in this call, because I don't want y'all to see what I got. Mid maxing would be like, sure, we'll use Dorian as an example. Uh, Dorian has garrison attack and skill, so if I was going to run Dorian In Garrison, well, I might want her talents on Garrison, right? Well, for your tank destroyer officer, if you're running a rally, maybe I'll use a different officer in this situation. Yep, this will work. All right, we'll use Ling. So Ling has talents for tank destroyer, siege, and skill. And as a tank destroyer officer, I probably want to max out tank destroyer tree, and then I'm probably going to max out skill. Well, what if I was using her to run rallies? Would I want to use siege? Well, it depends. Like here at this talent level, it increases the damage dealt, all damage dealt by 3% when serving as a siege or rally officer. That's a huge benefit, 3% total damage. That would take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 talents to reach that point. Where am I going to rob those 11 from? Well, if I check with Tank Destroyer Tree, this increases attack, defense, and health by 5, so that's worth 1, and then I need to do 2 more 5s. This deals 1% more damage, which is going to go up to 5%. Well, that's better than 3% total damage, so I don't want to replace that. So now I'm not going to rob this tree. Let's look at skill. Recover an extra 60 rage every time a skill is used. Okay. Increases the skill damage dealt by troops under her command by 10%. Probably not going to rob it from here. So I can't really mid-max this officer to make it stronger by using the siege tree, if that makes sense, because I'm having to rob it from somewhere else. And if what I'm taking away to put on siege is not as good as what I'm going to get, then I don't want to rob it. But are there officers that you can do that to? Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But that is something that we're not going to go over in this call. All right. Any other questions about rallies or anything else that I haven't gone over or that I have?
You guys can speak up if you want.
Yeah, and I'll give you all a second to type in the chat. So we'll have like a pause for people to do that. All right. Well, hopefully this was helpful for everybody. I know there's not usually much in the game to help with rally and understanding it. And we don't have a lot of people that have gone rally um, or that are very experienced with it. So I thought maybe that would be something beneficial for everybody. I hope everybody got something out of it, even if you're not going to be running rallies, that you might have learned something that will be useful for your team. Um, there's definitely more that we could have gone over, like refilling a rally. We didn't really talk about like how to do that and stuff. We're mainly focused on running the rally. Um, Next week, my plan is to go over garrisons, just like we did rallies. Um, so be looking out for that. I know we've had a lot of requests for these sessions to be recorded. I've got some great news that we are maybe closer to having some recordings that might even be available today. Um, or within the next couple of days, I'll be sending to the developers. But we'll see how that pans out. Um, Again, thanks for joining the call. If y'all don't mind, tag Julian in Discord. If you enjoyed the class, if you got something out of it, the more people that make a big deal out of this, the more likely I'm going to be able to push to do giveaways and stuff, um, which is what I'm pushing for. So they're very happy with everybody joining and how many people we have on the calls. So definitely, I know I'm asking you to hype it up a bit, but just let them know if you got value. And it's not a bad idea to maybe mention if you would like there to be like drawings or giveaways for things in the game as well. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your Saturday. Hope everybody had a great expedition.